Last month, I quit my corporate exec job to launch my debut novel. I gave myself 2 weeks to learn how to use graphic design and do my own cover art, and this is what happened. Hey, I'm Viv, and I feel like maybe it's important to first talk a little bit about how we even ended up here in the first place. So, until very recently, I was actually leading a department in a very big multinational company. I had a fantastic team. I was responsible for leading the brand management teams as well as the communications team, which was responsible for public relations at the company. And I loved my job. I wanted to be in brand management for a really long time. That's how I started my career in Canada. And then I moved to Germany 10 years ago and had to start my career from scratch again without any German, no network, no job, nothing. But I figured it out. And until recently, that's what I was doing until I decided to walk away from all of that. So, why did that happen? I mean, you heard me. I loved it. I actually truly loved my job. But the thing is, sometimes in life you find something that you love even more. So, as a kid, I was always a very creative person. I loved to read. I loved to write. I studied music for 14 years of my life. So I've always had this very artistic side to me. But I just never pursued that path. I think a lot of people can relate as a child from an immigrant family. I mean, my dad grew up not ever having enough food on the table. And so for me, I grew up really craving stability, craving really that the financial success, the status in society, and all those things that I think a lot of people can relate to. And so the thought of pursuing a creative career was just like, that's like stuff for other people, but like not for us. So I never did it. But last summer, this world fell into my head. It was last June. I remember I just came back from vacation and I was just coming out of a really tough time in my life. I went through a 2.5 year period that was just really challenging. And coming out of that, I don't know, I just remember I was back from vacation. I was standing in my bathroom and it was just this like world literally deluged. Like it literally, this world like fell into my mind. I was standing there and I was just like gripped by this idea that was just populating itself in my head. And on that day, that morning, I sat down, I opened up my laptop, I started writing, and I literally did not stop writing for 7.5 months. This is while working full time in an exec management position, and doing all sorts of incredible things on the corporate side, but moonlighting, honestly, weekends, evenings, vacation, 3 in the morning, staying up till 3 in the morning, waking up at 3 in the morning sometimes, I just could not stop thinking about this book and this idea and these characters and this world. And so I went in and did that, and in 7.5 months, I finished not just the first draft, but I actually finished the second draft. I actually finished rewriting it. And last month, I decided it's kind of time to go and follow that dream, to go like live that dream of 11-year-old Vivian. So anyways, okay, so that's a little bit of background of how we got to this point. But so at the start of last month, I was like, all right, so I come from branding, marketing experience. Let's give it a go, right? I mean, I come from marketing, branding experience, but I'm not a graphic designer. So I can tell you when I was very junior in my job, I mean, we had agencies for that. Like we hired agencies. I always worked client side, so we had agency. Or I actually did work at an ad agency as an intern one summer, but I wasn't responsible for graphic design. Never learned how to use the tools. I think I learned how to use Photoshop briefly because I was like designing my own business cards or something like this way back when. But anyway, so I started off my career that way. By the time I made it into management, like obviously I wasn't doing that myself. I had graphic designers on my team. I had agencies do all of that. Like I know the word vector. I know the file type .ai for Adobe Illustrator. I'm aware of these things, but I was like, I have no idea how to do any of that myself. But I was like, you know what? Like, honestly, I've got time now. Like I said, I'm a very creative person. I was just kind of like, let's give it a go and see. So I was like, okay, I'm going to give myself a deadline. I'm going to give myself 2 weeks. If I don't figure it out by then, I can find another solution, right? I can always hire someone, etc. So, as you saw in the intro, that was the final result at the end of the 2 weeks for just the logo, which, by the way, in the book world, they call that a title treatment, which kind of sounds like something you'd get at a spa. But anyways, so today we're just going to talk about the logo. I mean, I've got a whole story for the rest of the cover art, which you will see in the next video, because I did get to a result at the end of the 2 weeks that I'm very excited about. But the journey of the 14 days to get there was, how should I say it, troubled. So anyone who follows me on social media already and kind of is following along with the chaos knows that day one made me wish I'd called back all the headhunters that were trying to contact me before I'd quit. It made me think about maybe using my new graphic design skills to freshen up my resume, to go back to corporate. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? This is a horrible idea. I don't know what I'm doing. Day two was a little bit better, but only just. So this was the first sketch. By the way, at this point, like I hadn't used like a pencil physically. Like I don't even have one on my desk to demonstrate, but you know those things that people write with? So I hadn't used one for probably like a decade, and I was like, oh, like I'm gonna like take out a pencil and like try to like draw what's in my head. So then I did this, and then I scanned it and was like, okay, I'm gonna learn how to trace a drawing as a vector. Like that's like a thing you can do. There were like, I don't know, tons of tutorials and on YouTube, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna like learn how to do this. And then I traced it, like, so that was an excruciating process, to be honest, like figuring out first step of like how to draw a line, how to draw a curve, like what are nodes, what is a curve, how do I move a curve? Like things were just, it was really bad the first couple of days. I think like the first 2 days I was just like, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. How do people even do this? I have no idea. It's like they're speaking another language. But like, okay, eventually I figured it out. Like I was getting so confident, you know what I mean? I was like, oh my God, curves, like nodes, like I got this, you know? Like I know what I'm doing. I'm gonna nail this. And this is what I got to. And I was like really proud of it. I didn't even want to show anyone for the first couple of minutes because I was just like, I'm gonna keep this to myself. I'm so proud. But then I don't know. For some reason, I looked at the logo and I saw something, and then I couldn't unsee it anymore. It looks like the chopstick font. Guys, you know which one, okay? I'm Chinese. Like, no self-respecting Chinese person would ever use this font. Like, this is not... But the thing is, like, I went and drew it. Like, I drew this with my own hands. And, like, I just... Like, for my romantasy novel. Like, we have to remember, I wrote a fantasy book, okay? Like, I'm marketing as romantasy, but like, honestly, guys, we're talking epic, high-stakes war. We're talking, like, 2 empires on the brink of an apocalyptic war. We're talking badass female lead. We're talking super amazing, really hot male lead who can level a coastline with a wave of a hand. This logo is Kung Pao chicken. Yeah, I know. I needed a moment after that. Like, how did we start? Like, how did we start this call? Like this video, right? Remember what I said. I spent 14 years in brand management, in marketing, in PR. Like, guys, I started my career leading a packaging design project. I know how packaging cues work. Like, you need to be able to communicate to your target group what they're buying in 2 seconds before they buy it. Like, I know this. And then I went and designed the chopstick font. So I went and did some research, right? Like romantasy cover art conventions in general. I went back to the drawing board. I did some stuff like this. Like, look, the book is called Call of Matter. And the magic system is matter manipulation. It's all about being able to manipulate the stuff around us, the matter that's all around us. And so I was thinking, okay, so I kind of like went down this like science route, kind of. Like, I was literally, I tried to get my husband to find, like, you know, those things that you can use to draw circles. I don't even know what they're called anymore. They kind of like look like triangles, and you like draw. Like, I was literally like going down this path. I'm like, oh, okay, like science stuff. And then I went and did more research. I'm like, guys, Vivian, this is fantasy. This is romantasy. Like, people don't want a logo that looks like some science thing. So then I took out my pencil again. And this is like days later. I think this is in like the second week. I'm starting to get stressed out. I'm starting to get desperate. And then I'm like kind of like in this territory. And then I netted out kind of like here, actually. I netted out kind of like, if you look at this top section here. So it's not connected, but you're just seeing like the real thing. I didn't bother redrawing it to make the video look nice, but you see here Call and then of Matter. And that's kind of what I scanned in. And I painstakingly traced every single letter individually. Like, I don't know if any of you watching this has ever used the pen tool before, have tried to do tracing before, but it is really like click a node, click another point, drag curve till it fits perfectly, do another one, drag the curve again, see if it fits perfectly. And I spent hours. There were some curves I redrew like, I don't know, 20 times to get it right, especially if you look at the way the M flows, the R, oh my God, R was so painful to draw because there were 2 curves, and also like that upper bump. Anyone who's ever designed typography who's watching this is like, like that, getting that C to flow perfectly through the A, deciding what letter is going to stack on top of what so it looks 3-dimensional. But either way, like, I got there, you know. It took me 2 weeks. I started off not knowing how to draw a damn line in the program, but I got there and it's mine. Like, I created that. I literally sketched this in my notebook and I scanned it, traced it in the program, and it's mine. Like, every layer of it, every letter of it, and I persevered through it. So that's my story. I hope that was entertaining or potentially inspiring for some of you who are in the process of learning how to do graphic design from scratch and have no clue, or maybe you're launching your own book, or maybe you are designing your own cover art. Whatever it is that you're doing, let me know what you think in the comments. The blurb of my book just dropped on my website. Go take a look, callofmatter.com. Link is in the bio. And subscribe if you want to see how things netted out for the rest of the cover art beyond just the logo. So, thanks.